Legal disputes are often imagined as courtroom battles, where arguments are made, evidence is presented, and outcomes are decided in dramatic fashion. In reality, by the time a case reaches trial, much of its trajectory has already been set. The earliest decisions made by attorneys and clients tend to carry disproportionate weight, quietly shaping the range of possible outcomes long before a judge or jury is involved. Understanding this dynamic is critical for anyone facing a legal challenge. Whether the matter involves a business dispute, a contract issue, or potential litigation, the foundation built at the outset can determine not only the likelihood of success but also the cost, timeline, and stress associated with the process. Every legal matter begins with a set of facts, but those facts are rarely as clear or complete as they first appear. Early case assessment is the process of gathering, organizing, and critically evaluating those facts before taking significant action. It is not simply about understanding what happened, but about understanding how those facts will be interpreted under the law. A disciplined early legal strategy starts with asking the right questions. What evidence actually exists? What is missing? How might the opposing side frame the same events differently? These questions are not academic. They directly influence decisions about whether to pursue a claim, defend aggressively, or explore resolution early. Misjudging the strength of a case at this stage can have lasting consequences. For example, a business owner who assumes their position is airtight may move forward with litigation only to discover, months later, that key documentation is incomplete or contradictory. By that point, significant legal costs have been incurred, and the negotiating position has weakened. Effective litigation planning requires more than confidence. It requires a clear-eyed assessment of both strengths and vulnerabilities. This kind of early analysis allows for informed decision-making rather than reactive strategy. Legal disputes are not just about winning or losing. They are about achieving outcomes that align with a client's broader objectives. Those objectives vary widely. One client may prioritize financial recovery, while another may be more concerned with protecting a business relationship or avoiding public exposure. Clarity around these goals must be established at the outset. Without it, legal strategy can drift, becoming reactive rather than intentional. An attorney may pursue aggressive litigation tactics when a more measured approach would better serve the client's long-term interests. Consider a scenario involving a contract dispute between two companies that have worked together for years. If the client's primary goal is to preserve that relationship, early legal decision-making should reflect that. Filing a highly adversarial lawsuit without first exploring dialogue or mediation could irreparably damage the partnership, even if the legal claim itself is strong. On the other hand, if the client's objective is to set a precedent or deter future disputes, a more assertive approach may be appropriate. The key is alignment. When client goals are clearly defined early, every subsequent decision can be measured against those priorities. This alignment also improves communication. Clients who understand the strategy and the reasoning behind it are better equipped to make informed choices as the case evolves. One of the most important aspects of early legal strategy is evaluating risk. Every legal decision carries uncertainty, and understanding that uncertainty is essential when deciding how to proceed. The question of when to settle a case versus when to continue litigating is rarely straightforward. It involves balancing potential outcomes against the costs and risks associated with each path. Early in a case, these decisions are often influenced by incomplete information, making careful analysis even more important. A common mistake is to view settlement as a sign of weakness. In reality, strategic settlement can be a powerful tool. Resolving a dispute early can reduce costs, limit exposure, and provide certainty in situations where the outcome at trial is unpredictable. At the same time, settling too quickly without fully understanding the case can lead to missed opportunities. A party may accept a resolution that undervalues their position simply because they lack a clear assessment of their leverage. An experienced attorney will guide clients through this risk-reward analysis, ensuring that decisions are grounded in both legal realities and practical considerations. As one example, Seattle-based attorney David Ruzumna has emphasized in his practice that early transparency about risks and potential outcomes allows clients to make decisions that reflect their own tolerance for uncertainty, rather than reacting to pressure as the case unfolds. Preparation is often associated with trial, but its most significant impact occurs much earlier. The way a case is positioned from the beginning can influence how it is perceived by opposing counsel, mediators, and even the court. Early preparation includes developing a coherent narrative, identifying key evidence, and anticipating the arguments that the other side is likely to make. This work does not need to be perfect at the outset, but it should be deliberate. A well-prepared case signals strength. When opposing counsel sees that a party has a clear understanding of the facts and a well-supported legal position, it can shift the dynamics of negotiation. Conversely, a lack of preparation can invite challenges and reduce leverage. For example, in a commercial dispute, presenting a detailed and organized account of the facts early in the process can frame the discussion in a way that favors one side. It sets expectations and can influence how settlement discussions unfold. This is particularly important in mediation, where outcomes are often shaped by perception as much as by legal arguments. A party that appears prepared and credible is more likely to achieve favorable terms. Negotiation is a central component of most legal disputes, and its success is heavily influenced by early decisions. The initial approach to a case often determines the tone and direction of these discussions. If a party begins with an aggressive stance without a solid foundation, it can backfire. Demands that are not supported by evidence or legal reasoning may be dismissed, undermining credibility. On the other hand, a measured and well-supported position can establish authority and encourage constructive dialogue. Timing also plays a role. Early engagement in settlement discussions can be advantageous when both sides are still evaluating their positions. However, entering negotiations without sufficient preparation can lead to unfavorable outcomes. Consider a hypothetical employment dispute. If an employer conducts a thorough internal review before engaging with the employee, they are better positioned to negotiate from a place of knowledge. If they skip this step and respond hastily, they may overlook critical facts that could have strengthened their position. The key takeaway is that negotiation outcomes are rarely determined at the negotiation table alone. They are shaped by the groundwork laid in the early stages of the case. Early missteps in a legal matter can have ripple effects that are difficult to reverse. These mistakes often stem from incomplete information, rushed decisions, or a lack of strategic planning. One common example is failing to preserve evidence. In today's digital environment, relevant information can include emails, text messages, and internal documents. If these are not identified and preserved early, they may be lost or become inaccessible, weakening the case. Another example involves inconsistent narratives. If a party presents one version of events early on and later attempts to adjust that narrative, it can damage credibility. Opposing counsel will often seize on these inconsistencies, using them to challenge the reliability of the case. There are also strategic missteps, such as pursuing claims that are not well supported or taking positions that are difficult to defend. These decisions can lead to unnecessary legal costs and limit flexibility later in the process. Perhaps most importantly, early decisions can lock a party into a particular path. Once a case is framed in a certain way, it can be challenging to pivot without undermining the overall strategy. The common thread across all of these considerations is the importance of building a strong foundation. Early legal strategy is not about predicting the future with certainty. It is about creating a framework that allows for informed, adaptable decision-making. This involves thorough case assessment, clear communication with clients, careful evaluation of risks, and deliberate preparation. It also requires an understanding that legal disputes are dynamic. New information will emerge, and strategies may need to evolve. However, when the initial groundwork is solid, these adjustments can be made from a position of strength rather than desperation. For individuals and businesses alike, this approach offers tangible benefits. It can reduce costs by avoiding unnecessary litigation, improve outcomes by strengthening negotiating positions, and provide clarity in situations that might otherwise feel uncertain.